Welcome everyone to the second breakout session. I'm very excited about this one. We're going to hear about how to endure the test of time by going composable. And on stage with us today, we have Sean from Commerce Layer, Nico from AKQA, and Daniel from Fredericia. I have been practicing. We can test all of you afterwards if you manage to pronounce that correctly. So, welcome.
There is a prize.
Yeah, exactly. And over to you, Sean, to kick it off.
I get to be the panel. I'm the moderator here. So thank you so much, and thank you to the Contentful team for having us. What an amazing venue here in Paris. I got to hang out with the crew in New York a few weeks ago, so this is good. We're on the 5-tour blitz, but I get the pleasure of moderating the crew. For those that aren't familiar with Commerce Layer, we are I like to say we're the most modern platform on the planet today. So we're the most evolved, built in 2017. Company came out of, our team was at Gucci for several years. So Dr. Chris's presentation today of merging those together. So we had that pleasure. We are a API first, headless, full-featured commerce solution as you would expect. We have a different approach, kind of a unique approach to our data model. Gives us an ability to be that much more flexible in helping brands deliver a transactional experience. But our team, we've got a number of brands that we've had the pleasure of working with. If you saw us right before Steve's presentation, Rafa is a collective brand that we share. Brioni, SumUp, SunGod, and obviously our friends from Fredericia. So I'm getting better. The Italians want to pronounce it as Fredericia, so we've been all a little confused there. So again, Daniel, Nico, and Sean. I'm going to start it off. So Daniel, tell us a little bit about the company, and you guys have been around since over 100 years. You've been through Europe, a few changes, a couple wars, all that good, all that wonderful stuff that's gone on. So tell us about the company.
Yes, sure. And it's Fredericia.
Fredericia.
Yeah, Fredericia.
Nice.
Fredericia Furniture. So we are a Danish design company that does furniture, chairs, lounge chairs, sofas, tables, all of which from known Danish designers. Hans Wegner.
Yes. The ox chair.
Yeah. Børge Mogensen, Nana Ditzel, a lot of great Danish designers and new designers as well. We're from 1911, and we're originally called Fredericia Stolefabrik, which is Fredericia chair fabric in Danish. And that's kind of where it all started out, and we were the best within wood and upholstered furniture. And then I'm going to forward through Second World War to 1955, where the current family acquired the company, Andreas Graversen. And he kind of brought along Børge Mogensen as one of his good friends, close friends, and they just started, creating amazing furniture. And we're on third generation now in the company, so a lot of history and a family company. We're around 100, 120 people or something. We have local production as well. It's kind of mixed of production, yeah. But
and you were telling me about how the craftsmen, everything's handmade, and they can only build so many pieces of furniture, so many chairs a week, just because the physical toll takes on.
The ox chair, which is one of our known lounge chairs, takes a lot of time, first of all, but also a lot of energy to do. So they have limits on how many they're allowed to do as well. So but it's really premium craft quality furniture.
Craft and quality, love that. And when you speak of craft and quality, can't help but think of AKQA.
Oh, nice transition.
Now it's fun to have the team as a partner. I've been competing with them for years, at various capacities. It's those guys do great work, So, Nico, tell us, kind of how you guys get involved, some of the great brands that, Chanel and L'Oreal and Nike from the States and Coca-Cola,
Yes, I think AKQA story started definitely with Nike more than 10
years, yeah.
10 years ago now. And from that story, which started in London, it expanded globally quite quickly. And now we're about like 2,500 around the world. And in Europe, which I'm part of, definitely, we have a focus on luxury because we're in Paris. And there's a lot of luxury here. And we created a great relationship with Louis Vuitton, Chanel, L'Oréal Luxe, now relationships that are over about 8-10 years. And it's really part of our DNA, I think, and part of something common with Fredericia. And I think this is how our relationship started, why you came to us and asked, hey, can you help us, and why it's successful in the end.
Yeah, and I was going to, when did you guys meet? How long has the relationship been going?
That's actually a good question because I've been with Fredericia for around 7 months now, and everything of the new brand site we launched that in November, so I kind of took on the task of actually making things come alive. So I wasn't actually not from the first get-go of the initial project, but I'm thinking around beginning of 22 or something like that. It's like a rough guess.
In 22 when you guys came, and I think the relationship started. It wasn't really a pitch, but you came and said, okay, this is where we are. That's our situation. This is our brand. This is our product, and this is currently our online channel. And there was definitely a mismatch, right, on that amazing brand that you have, the amazing product, but the expression online. And I think this is how we first engage with it. Is okay, how can we help unlock the expression of your brand online? And this is what really started the story. I think from the get-go, so it was clear that this was going to be a journey. It's not something that we were going to fix in a couple of months. There was a couple of steps. You had very specific vision on going B2B, but first we needed to get the brand.
Yeah, correct. For brands that are in the audience, I mean, how did you guys? And I heard it wasn't a pitch, which I love that.
Me too.
I was Sarah Sullivan, who runs the solution engineering team for Contentful globally. She was like, guys, no RFPs, please, anymore. Let's just, let's do chemistry tests and stuff like that. That sounds like how you guys kind of came together, that there was some awareness, some interest, and then it just kind of went on from there and forging the partnership.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's very, very important in a partnership with a supplier like AKQA as well. That we were really, really glad on like the honesty and the transparency and the way that we challenged each other's opinions very, very honestly, really. So that was very, very beneficial for us, and something that personally I value actually more than a reference sometimes or a use case. Like the human like the soft skills is very, very important as well.
You're right. We were discussing that yesterday, and I think there are ways today for brands to pre-check the qualification of partners up front. One is being Max certified. I think we all in this.
We're talking, yes. We're talking,
and it's a great area. And this, I mean, you tick. This is done.
Yeah.
You know they can do the job that you require, but then, especially like on this project, moving to monolith to composable, it's a journey. The truth is, it's complex. You need to make big decisions, and those decisions needs to be made based on trust. You're going to be a team. Some of these ideas will come from the agency, some will come from you, and it's truly a partnership. And I really encourage all brands to trial that partnership through workshops, through conversation. Start working on small project, but this is fundamental. And through that partnership, I think what you need to test is the common grounds that you have. And I think with Fredericia, the common grounds were the craft. In the end, we know that your brand and AKQA, the final decision will be made on protecting the craft and the quality. And you need to find that. Sometimes it's something different. Sometimes it could be a commerce KPI, which is the most important thing. That's fine. But you need that basic understanding.
Yeah, and Ron and Corin this morning with Shell, we're talking about a POC around a couple of use cases and those kinds of things. And I know, Danny, you came in kind of after the initial front end, but now as we're moving into the commerce piece, I mean, workshopping, obviously a key part, getting some use cases.
Exactly,
A POC is a great way of kind of testing it out. So
for sure.
No, good. Yeah. So as far as you guys, looking for, going forward, you're on this journey. You've got AKQA as a partner. You've got technologies in place, Commerce Layer being one of those. What helped you guys get to that comfort level? I mean, we were talking about you were on some legacy tech.
Yeah, for sure.
So this was, and being a 100-year-old company. This is, you're doing some pretty bleeding edge things, So what got your team comfortable, and certainly, having a great partner, with providing some support there. But talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, but I think that we were a perfect fit in regards to composable, because we were, as Nico mentioned as well, we were able to take the small steps one at a time, because it's just, we can add like the commerce part that we will talk a little bit more about that, but we are adding like the commerce engine to the solution now. Yeah. But we could actually start out by just like popping up a brand site, make it look beautiful, get the products in, and then when we were comfortable and we felt like we had the resources to do it, we had the support from management, we could just pop on a commerce engine, and like we're ready to sell our products to our own dealers, right? So B2B.
Yeah, and that's I know obviously Nico being an advisor to the Mock Alliance, and obviously with we're talking about certification and things like that. Where from your standpoint, from a composable, we're here talking with the storylines and how to bring those forward. AKQA has definitely been one of the early members. Where do you see this supporting brands like Fredericia, and their ability to go ahead and deliver just an amazing customer experience?
I think the truth is AKQA went to composable probably about 6 years ago, and before composable, it was actually we went to headless. Why we went to headless at the time? It was a simple reason for us, which go back to what we still believe in, which is the craft. We were suffering from having to develop brilliant experiences on templated CMSs. There was so much restriction. We could not express the brands the way we wanted. It was extremely frustrating for us. So when headless came out, it was solving a lot of things from an IT point of view, from sometimes performance point of view, but the truth is for us, it was this creative freedom that it's first enabled. And that's why we went into it. And going into that, and again, because that was the foundation was craft, so the whole company believed in it, right? We could bring the designers and IT together. Then we really saw the full potential of sometimes we had clients which were in vendor lockdown, which were suffering from being with the same vendor for about like 8-10 years, couldn't get out of it because it was very monolith. And again, it was very frustrating for us. Then there was another advantage, which was speed. Setting up monolith took a very long time. Going composable, it means we could take a small brick and implement it fast. And most of the time, like we did for you, it starts with the front end. You first do the front end, you take Contentful headless CMS, you plug the two together. You can keep all the legacy part, but you can do that in 3-6 months. Before in monolith, I remember it was like more than a year. So there was speed, the unlock creativity, unlocking all of the content, the experience, and then now it's really about, for us, and it's going to be the case for Fredericia, is how to merge content, experience, and commerce. Right? Yeah. We really don't believe for brand at the level of Fredericia, and we don't believe on purely e-commerce website. and maybe just embrace ourselves aside. We need to mix everything together.
Yeah, and that's Filippo Massimo, our founders. They came out of Gucci, and they were handed a very rich AKQA-esque design that they had to land in a legacy system. And it was challenging. So out of that was a lot of the genesis for Commerce Layer, the ability for a technology to support a design but not have to get in the way of the design. So as you guys are moving down, now you've got the front end. The site's beautiful. The content is so rich.
Yeah.
You've got all these amazing stories about the designers and the history, and the J39 chair and the Ox chair and the Queen's chair and all these great. And I'm a bit of a mid-century. I mean, we got a couple of pieces in our house, just a few, but but it's it's just so rich, So now the ability to bring that transactional capability is kind of what we pride ourselves on. Just how easy it is to bring it forward. I think is the next phase of the engagement, the journey here.
So that's the next phase for us. Sorry, to be able to being in an old furniture industry, you're used to doing things very manually as well, and I think a lot of people can kind of recognize that use case, that they at least have some sort of manual use cases that they are trying to improve on in their own business. But for us, it's today we get a call or we get an email, and then we go in our ERP system and we type in the order, and we should be able to, and that's the customer service department doing that, right? So what we want to do is making the customer service department actually spending their time on the customer, and making sure that they kind of follow the sales through and they are supportive of the customer. So we want to be able to kind of take care of the transactional part of it, and then it creates a much better flow, and we are in a better position to actually focus on the customer than having to use all our energy on typing the orders, and you can get a little mistakes on the keyboard and stuff like that. A lot of things can go wrong, and if you type in the wrong product with the wrong upholstery, they're not taking that piece of furniture.
So a little bit of B2B commerce certainly coming.
A lot of B2B commerce coming.
For you guys.
That's the first step for us, and where the priority is. So we have a lot of exciting things coming up right now. A big project to get started.
Nico, Commerce Layer takes a unique approach to the market around our very defined separation of commerce from content. And we work closely with our CMS partners, Contentful, of the product catalog sitting within Contentful. How, from your perspective, how has that helped Fredericia, that separation of content and commerce really helped them move forward in the project? Because it sounds like we started with the front end, and now the ability to come in. Talk a little bit about that for us.
So I think, and in this case, I think it's important to mention that we're going from brand website and we're adding e-commerce. It sounds very standard, but actually, most clients, they already have an e-commerce website, which is do commerce, and they want to add story. And we need to plug a CMS on e-commerce. Here, we need to plug commerce on an existing storytelling website, which works very well. So to that point, we don't want to disturb the story which is already there, right? And I think the beauty of your solution here is that we can plug commerce very effortlessly, without having to change any of the content part and the data part. There's a lot of content, and we've made a lot of work to connect all your ERP data into the CMS already, and we don't have to disturb any of this. All we have to do is integrate now the SKUs on your solution, add the commerce, and it's done. And that's important because most of the other commerce solution, even though composable, you have to manage basic product information in their CMS. And what it means is, in the end, the marketing team, when updating content, will need to do double updates in the commerce solution and in the CMS in the end. With the solution that you have, we use the CMS for the content. Commerce is commerce.
Yeah.
and I think it has a very quantifiable impact on the time to market, for example. So implementing commerce for you will probably cost half as it would with another commerce solution because there's much less work involved. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Dana, you're moving down that path. Obviously, the first phase of the project, but you're now coming. One of the key components is the product configurator.
Right.
You talk about in the B2B, like, hey, it didn't quite get right. Talk to how easy that is going to be to kind of bring that into the environment. One from a content standpoint, and then a commerce perspective.
Yeah. So the easy part is actually making it look good, right? That's the very easy part of the product configurator. The difficult part is making sure that, and one of our bottlenecks is all on our own. It's the own data that you have in your ERP system that can, that can be a lot of legacy data within that. And in our case, we have a lot of SKUs. If we had like all products, if you take this chair for an example, if that could be acquired in 5 different frames and 600 different upholsteries, you'd have a lot of SKUs in the end, right? Yeah. So what we did was, we don't have created all of the SKUs. So if we get an order of a SKU that's not created, we kind of just reconfigure it and we create the SKU on the go within the system. So what we're trying to figure out right now is the best practice, which I don't think there is. It's very, very different from business to business on how you want to build your product configurator. But in our case, we're not perfectly there in regards to the perfect solution, because the bottleneck from us is our own complexity within the configuration logic that lies within each product. But we've seen what the Commerce Layer demoed, and everything looks good. And we partnered up with another supplier as well on 3D rendering and like visualization of the products, which is also very nice. So the complexity lies within the data. So just make sure that you're all good on data, which is easier to say than actually do.
We'll come back and ask you how it went. You'll give us the good, the bad, and the ugly. It wasn't as easy, or it wasn't really easy. Kind of
but
thing,
there's always solutions. Like you can always figure out this. Some sort of solution. We just need to figure out what's the best for us.
And we feel comfortable. We have a number of clients in Brioni that, given the nature of their bespoke side of their business with SunCloud's got 500,000 different SKUs with all the permutations of the frames and the lenses and stuff. So in a similar fashion, so we felt really comfortable. With there's certainly some complexity there, but
definitely,
it's not our first path down that. So.
And what's important, I think, is here we have the choice. I don't think we haven't figured out the right solution, but we can trial something. We can come back, trial something else. There's a lot of solution today where you don't have that choice. It's SKU based. So that means you would have to go down through creating unique SKU for everything, which a lot of clients had to do because they didn't have the choice. But I think this is opening new opportunities, which is great. And maybe in the end, I don't know, we'll create all the SKUs because but we can try differently. And I think we will definitely try not to create all the SKUs, but SKUs with parameters. The flexibility is super important here. And this is opening new business opportunities, because once you do that, then you can start to open new type of configuration, and it even starts opening the next step, which would be personalization. But that means then the commerce solution is ready for personalization. Right.
So that's next steps for us. That's personalization, and we feel like we have the right tech stack to actually do a lot of the things. We just need that commerce engine in place, and we just need to make sure that performance is one of the things that's most important, because everything can be done without doubt. But personalization is definitely the next step for us. And that's what we're thinking about now as well, just in a more low practical way. But we just want to make sure that what we do for our customers is an experience. That's basically what it is, right? So at least that's what it needs to feel like when you buy our products.
And as far as the personalization goes, how are you moving forward down that path? We've got kind of a unique approach to business, and what allows us from a B2B and B2C, our market definition,
Yeah.
where
Exactly.
you can get a market can be an individual, it can be a set of individuals, a business. So it really opens up a lot of flexibility. As you were evaluating the platform, where did that fall in? I know you guys, you certainly sell in multiple geographies
Exactly.
and
Different currencies, different discount per customer as well. So there's a lot of, like, if you took out the full set of wholesale prices, it would be enormous because it would be specific to each customer. So everybody has their own agreement in their own currency, and that needs to be, displayed all at once for each customer that logs in. So that's a use case. Yeah. But I've worked in a previous company within the Danish design industry as well, and I'm sure it can be done. I know it can, and it's just very close to getting there.
So we've got the B2C, we got the B2B. The configurator is going to be a big thing. Personalizations. What else? I know you got to be somewhat proprietary and careful, but what's next? What's coming?
I feel like I already talked about a lot of next steps in what we want to do.
What else do you guys have got on the roadmap here?
What else do we got? One of the things that you mentioned, now we got this beautiful brand site from AKQA, and one of the big things right now is just making it come alive, making sure that we generate that content, that we make that journey, just keeping that thing alive is actually like it's a big task. It's not just like we got the product now. We just need to make sure that we utilize it 100%. And that's, even though it's kind of, it sounds easier than it is, and it's a very low practical thing, but it's a big task for us and something that we focus a lot on. So that's what's next for us now. And then we have our B2B commerce, and then we want to build a configurator, and then we want to personalize. So I think we have enough.
You got a good roadmap.
Yeah, we got a good roadmap. Yeah.
Nico, kind of pulling back just a minute. You guys obviously is engaged, and you've had some amazing brands that you've got to work with. How much of the brand, the company? I mean, it's got to be fun to work with. I mean, I did a lot in B2B, and I've been on the services side, and B2B customers were wonderful and great. I got the pleasure of working with some great, but I always loved the consumer, the fashion, the luxury brands. Always got me out of bed a little faster than maybe some of my B2B friends. It's got to be fun and exciting to be working on a brand like this.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, and then that's why I do this job. But and we look to luxury for inspiration, and I think we don't work only for luxury. We work for a lot of other brands. But the great thing about luxury is it's always supposed to be the inspiration, which means it's always supposed to be new. It's always supposed to reinvent, to be ahead, to be bigger, bolder. And this is what really gets our team super excited. And you see these in big groups, LVMH or L'Oreal, they will focus their innovation on the luxury tier. This is where you trial things. But this is also where you take the biggest risk, right? And I think this is why it's so fascinating and exciting. And then it doesn't matter if it's B2B or B2C. I think what we see more and more is we actually use, our DNA is very D2C, B2C is what we do. We talk to consumer, we get them excited about your products. But the way we treat B2B today is the same. You need to seduce your B2B partners the same way. They are people. They are on Instagram. They see, and they need to be treated the same way, and somehow even bigger. I think when I think B2B, I'm thinking, okay, this is a close group of VIP which are allowed to buy your product in a way that other people can't.
Exactly.
And this is what we need to nurture.
And I really like that you're saying that, because that's something I've been saying out loud as well. Like, we need to treat this like regular commerce. It's not a big difference. It's actually, it's right now, since we don't have any D2C, it's the most important source of income for us, right? So that got to be pleased, and our customers got to be pleased, like we would have if we had a standard D2C commerce site.
Yeah, I mean, consumers, we've all got expectations. You expect every brand to engage with you in that personal. I mean, that the tier, the brand that you engage with that does it best, you expect everybody else to do that.
Exactly.
And then it comes down to, well, why wouldn't I expect that as a B2B user? Why should it be a subpar? You know, just because it's B2B doesn't mean it needs to be stripped down. It can still look as elegant and still do the same things. We talked,
Especially when you look at the average basket.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
This is actually validating a lot of investment in a way that when you've got an average basket, a couple of euros for some brand, like it's very hard to validate some investment to make the experience amazing. When you're in B2B and you look at that, okay, if I just spend like 1% of this to actually improve the experience of those people, you can do amazing things.
Yeah. 1 aux chair, maybe 2.
Maybe 2.
Now 3, maybe.
It's going to take some time, but yeah.
Yeah, there you go. We talked about luxury. Some of our team members came out of, they ran digital for Gucci for many years, and checkout in luxury brands get the fact that the checkout is such a big opportunity to merchandise, a big opportunity to, increase average order volume. That's a big thing. We're proud of our checkout. We bring, a tried and tested thing to the market in a no code. It can be forked and it can be customized, and then, man, go ahead and do whatever you need to and whatever you want to in a totally customized, just use the API and create it. So, I mean, I know it's going to get phased in, but talk to us about, where you see, the checkout kind of being an important component of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, and I know Nico has some very good points on it as well. Like being able to, for us at least, it's the customization of part of it is very, very important. So we feel like we can do what we want, that we believe, and that we've kind of researched that is what our customers need as well, right? So that's one part, and we just have, as I talked about before, the different set of requirements per customer just demands a little bit more complex checkout, and they want a lot of references and comments to themselves and like a lot of stuff that all needs direct integration to ERP. So that's kind of the standard part of it, just making sure that works, and then there's like making the checkout an experience as well as
merchandising.
Merchandise that part as well, like to increase some sales. And there's a lot of things that can be done that are not being done right now, I think.
Yeah, Nico, talk about, so obviously a lot of the luxury brands that you've been working with and what they've been doing.
And and a lot of those brands have been spending a lot of money to actually do the same thing that everybody else. And the story of the checkout itself, we could write a book about the checkout. Because, the way we approached it like 10 years ago is so different from now. I think the checkout has always been very scary for brands. This is the make it or break it moment. And therefore, it's been just always kind of, okay, we need to stay safe. We need to follow the standards. And I think it makes sense for a lot of time. I think there's amazing company like Amazon that told us like how to do efficient checkout, but we just remove so much. We just make it so efficient that it just became sterile. Sterile is not luxury, and this is where today I think we need to balance that. Efficient checkout works for certain type of goods when you want to be very efficient, but now we need to think differently. And brands tried, but I think I think about like for Sephora 3 years ago, we're trying to make a custom checkout. It's just the cost of that with the technology at the time, it was 6 months of time.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much it costs, the effort to make a custom checkout? And you're working for 6 months, you're going to launch it, see the results. If it doesn't work, that brand's going to say, we need to change things
Another
now.
6 months to unsort
the
it.
technology at the time did not allow us to change quickly. It was not composable that way. So effort versus benefit, it was just like, okay, now we're not going to touch it anymore. Let's stay safe.
Yeah.
You guys are opening a new door, and I think that's very exciting. So there hasn't been much done on experiential checkout, but I think this is a trend that is happening. I'm really excited about this year and the years to come and what's going to happen. When we talk about those B2B VIP club of customers that's going to buy a lot of volume from you, they need to feel VIP at the checkout.
Yeah.
Like you need to celebrate at the checkout, like the fact that they're your premium partners. This is a moment where you're starting to tell the story of the post-purchase. This is a moment when you want to say, okay, we're actually starting building your order. And to me, now the checkout is to tell the story of the post-purchase, of what's going to happen between now and when you're going to actually receive your product. Because for luxury, it's not like often it's not like Amazon when you receive the next day.
No.
You will produce for a certain amount of time, and you want to keep your consumer engaged throughout that. And you have so much story to tell during that production time. And we have other clients like Louis Vuitton. It's the same for certain goods, like they've been totally customized. The process is amazing, right? The way you do your chain. And we need to, for me, the checkout will be the beginning point of the post-purchase. But there's not really cases yet. We just need to create that story, right?
We need to help some brands be more bold. I mean, there's some pretty mediocre, not to disparage other platforms on the market, but they're certainly delivering yesterday's kind of experience from a checkout and from
like the post-purchase. We're working a lot on post-purchase experiences right now.
The unboxing. Talk about the unboxing. I think that's just awesome.
One of the things is that, and I've experienced it here as well, people might not know Fredericia Furniture as a brand, but they know the furniture, right? And that's one of the issues that we are trying to tackle. That's the unboxing experience of our products, and first of all, making sure that they know it's a Fredericia product, but also that it's just an experience to unbox your brand new furniture that you spend quite an amount of money on as well, but it will also last you a lifetime. So kind of that experience needs to be told, and how it's made, and what we've done locally, and like my office is very close to where we like smoke the wood and stuff like that. There's like some cool brand stories to tell, and all of that. Yeah,
I know. We bought a couple of Womb chairs, not one of your designers. I know. It was, and it was exciting to unbox the thing. So, but Ox chair, will be Ox chairs.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stories there.
Yes.
Really.
So we're getting close to the top of the hour. We've got a couple other things. Any questions, comments from the audience? Can we wrangle? I know Bendernagel's got one. Nadia's got one. Fire away.
So how do you customize the checkout experience for luxury? What would be the difference then?
The difference, I think we would start, so right now we have checkouts which are extremely sterile, so you remove all the content, you try to make all the fields the most seamless possible. And it has been done this way to really focus the attention of the consumer of what he needs to do and make sure he do this and doesn't drop. Where we would start is first to make it look and feel like the brand, because in a lot of commerce experiences, actually it's the checkout looks completely different. It's purely functional. There are solutions today on the market, like Shopify, where you still can't really customize the checkout at all. So I think the visual part is super important. But also, I think we should not be afraid to start adding visuals and stories and small video loops. And that could be, I don't think it would distract people from completing the checkout. I think there are, especially with the way we analyze the data and with AI now, we can know if someone is really committed to actually go through it versus just, saving it for wish list, which was a big, scary moment for the brand before. It's like you don't know that you want to make sure it's super efficient. But I think it just, in the end, having some storytelling, visually, a bit of animation, even a bit of video in the end, just make that experience more emotional. And that's what we want to do. We want that transaction to feel emotional. We don't want it to feel dry. We spend so much effort making the pre-purchase emotional, bringing people, telling the story. We just want it to continue, right? So that's how we'd approach it. Exactly how, I don't know. I think this is something we need to try together with all the parties here in the brand. But the big difference is doing that before was a lot of effort. and it would be hard to change after. I think with solution like yours now, it's actually very easy to try to revert back to do something different.
Yeah, you can A/B test it. I mean, our team, when they were at Gucci, used it as a merchandising, just to increase the cart. I mean, average order. It was that last. We always use kind of the grocery store, analogy of you're at the checkout and then it's like, oh, a couple magazines, some gum. Next thing you know, another $20 into the till. So they did a lot of that. Let me tell you, as Filippo and Massimo had to catch that in the legacy system, and it was those multiple months, and oh, whoops, it didn't go right, or somebody tweaked something. So with ours being just API, you can do that, test it. You can have multiple carts running at the same time. You can go ahead and direct different traffic to test to see what's more effective, roll it back if you need to. So that's some of the, and it comes down to what is the brand, what's right for them, that user experience for you guys.
Pretty hard for us to throw in an extra chair or like on an order, right? So for us, it would be care maintenance kits or
care kits, service, those kinds of things. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's. I know I'm a sucker for just about anything that shows up at the last minute. So throw.
Oh, you're one of those.
More polish for my shoes. Sure, no worries. Yeah. And it's kind of helpful. I need a lightweight scarf. I mean, that's what I need.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still on the hunt for the scarf. So, question in the back. Fire away.
For me.
Thank you. The question is the following. So you mentioned that it was mainly a brand website that was transformed into a commerce site.
We're in the transformation, yeah.
And from a composable perspective, I was wondering what were the legacy changes in addition to the commerce, such as WMS, such as other stuff that you had to consider in order to transform your brand into shoppable?
Yeah. So, a good question. We've actually never sold anything directly, digitally, at all. So no VMS or anything. So we're strictly, and that's like a typical furniture industry thing, that you are very wholesale minded and you're very product minded as well. So it's been, today we have legacy systems for sure, and we are on a legacy ERP system. So that's the bottleneck that I mentioned earlier as well. So that's kind of what we're trying to. And it's hard because you can't really navigate around it, and you can't put bandages on it because then you'll have 68 bandages on it, and then it's even harder to navigate those as well. So I think we're actually in a lucky situation right now where we have the chance to start from fresh. So we can build the right architecture. We have a very strong one now. So when we're talking about the B2B commerce side now, that's when we're kind of transitioning into things that are dependent on our own legacy system. So our ERP, for example, and that's nothing, you don't just change your ERP, right? Nobody really wants to do that. So we're kind of trying to throw things up in the air right now and figuring out what can we actually do configurator-wise. Are we going to place it in the middle of the solution, or are we going to... We're a little bit scared to integrate directly with the ERP due to performance. But yeah, the good part is that we can actually try out a couple of different solutions. So I hope that was answering after the question.
Go ahead, Charlie.
I've got control of the mic.
Uh-oh, watch out.
So a great talk and a great presentation. And I know that we have representation from product side, from the implementation side, and from the seller, the vendor side.
Yeah.
We hear a lot about composable, and you mentioned, Sean, earlier in the conversation that we get a lot of RFPs, and we, I think, collectively get a lot of RFPs where it's clear that they're still thinking about the old kind of monolith thinking. What is the conversations that you have collectively with your internal stakeholders, with your the people that you're going to implement for, with your people who are interested in buying your product? What are the conversations that you have to sort of get them to come around to your way of thinking of composable and sort of shake off that legacy mindset?
Yeah, I'll go last. So we'll do you mind, Daniel? Do you mind kind of taking that first?
I can go first. I have a very concrete example actually, because just the commerce part. We initially, when I joined Fredericia, there was talk with another supplier on a B2B commerce site that was like a standalone product next to the great job that the AKQA and we just did. So I kind of asked the question, like, why didn't we build the commerce store on the thing that we just got delivered? So I built the business case on that, and it didn't take long to convince management on why, because it's faster, and in the end it's also cheaper to do. I think it's pretty fair to say that having two separate solutions, operational-wise, would be more expensive in the long run. So you might throw, for us, in our case, might throw a bigger investment at the get-go, but on the long run, you'll have a much stronger business case. Yeah.
I think from an agency point of view, now we're lucky because what you're bringing up, I tried 6 years ago with Chanel and I failed. And I wanted them to go fully composable, and it didn't work. It didn't work because we were very alone, and we didn't have backup. We didn't have the stories, and now we have the stories. I have so many stories of the successes, but I think most importantly for the clients, what resonates is the failures. Is okay, you want to go down that path, but okay, like talk to these guys. He went through the same path with that platform, and he's not really happy today. And we have the stories of people making decisions 6 years ago on legacy that now wants to change. And I think this is a stronger thing, right? It's like we need to share those stories. Because if it's just a matter of point of view, then it's just point of views. But the stories, and this is what this is about, right? Storyline. They resonate with people because it's just not factual, it's also emotional. When you talk to someone who went through a painful replatforming of monoliths, you will feel the pain. That's very powerful.
Yeah, and I think as a collective, I mean, this goes a long way. You know, having the groups get together and have an opportunity to share, you know, our collective vision as solution partners and tech solution is great. The Mock Alliance, obviously, that's been great. I still think we, as an industry, have a lot to do there from awareness. I think Kelly Getch threw out something weeks ago of, how many people have heard of the Mock Alliance, kind of thing, and how many people have heard of the Mock Alliance in this room, There you go. Yeah, okay, pretty good. That's probably mostly vendors, but So we had an event in New York, and most of the folks, it was and these were pretty major brands. Most of the folks had not heard of that term. So I think the more we do that on the RFP side, I mean, it's awesome when you get people that are forward-thinking, that have been through that process. It is such an arcane process. I remember Forrester begging clients to say, don't do that. Talk to some folks, get a few folks in the room, do a chemistry test, and see what works. I mean, we are going through, collectively, an RFP written by a very major solution provider that is ridiculous. And we're being videoed, and I'm going on video saying this. It is appalling how misguided this RFP has been written. I mean, it has nothing to do with what the business objectives and needs of this brand are. I mean, it's just like, really. And I am old. I've been doing this a long time. I started building commerce stuff on NetCommerce before it was WebSphere. And man, if I can leave this industry, in a few years with, there's no more RFPs. We're not going down that silly approach to doing business. I'll tap out and be a happy person. So I'm off my soapbox. There you go. A little bit of passion. You struck a chord there, Charlie, with that one. So, any other questions on that happy note? But cool. Oh, Mr. Bindernagel. He's my seed question. So.
A couple of my questions were already asked, so I did want to get this one out there, back to this storytelling aspect of this, because we can get deep into the tech pretty quickly, but I think it's partially answerable by both Nico and Daniel. I'm always fascinated when I hear like helping brands come alive, because that has a very real meaning, but it's also really hard to put a finger on what that means, and it's obviously unique to each brand. So can you just give like 2 very specific stories, one each of you? Like for Fredericia, like what is unique internally that you can tell about bringing the brand alive? Like, are the people who are making the furniture care as much about your work as you do about theirs? Like, I don't know, just tell us a little bit about like the internal culture on the pride that the workmanship carries forward to what you're doing. And then Nico, maybe you can give a customer example where you've been pulled into something and witnessed a product being made or something like that, where you're like, wow, this brand is really unique and doing something awesome.
Yeah, do you want me to go first? Because I think you almost mentioned it yourself. It is like showing the creation of the products, and by that way, like giving much more meaning to the products itself, and kind of telling that story. And yeah, no, I think that's more or less the answer to the question. Like if I get the question right, at least, yeah.
Yeah, indeed, there's many examples, and this is most of our brief, right? And what we're trying to do, indeed, and the answer it will be different per brand, but the approach is every time to try to find that differentiator to the competition for that brand. Like, what do they have that is so specific, and it can be about the craft of a product. And there's a lot of brands where we actually indeed tell that stories and show how the product is crafted. I think where we want to get to every time is the emotion. We don't want it to be dry. We want to talk to the soul of people. And it's hard, but there's a couple of rules in how you do this. And most of the time, you also want to bring that back to human. So if you talk about the craft, you will want to show the actual workmanship behind, and you want to show the hand that is on that product that is real. You want to, and sometimes it's really through subtle motions. I think the difficult part is we have to tell stories in 1 second, 2 seconds. This is the time people will spend on a Instagram feed, right? To make them stop. It's hard. How do you do that? And sometimes it's just motion. And the way we approach motion today on product has to be very specific per brand. Yeah. It says a lot. If it's very fast or very slow, what about the lightning? It will provide some emotional reference. And so that would be probably the first step. And then when you engage that consumer on just as first insight, you can tell a deeper story. Start to have people talk and tell the full story of the brands.
I think another one from our sustainability in itself is another big thing that we've really been able to kind of give new life and kind of connect those dots to our products as well, because it's also a very popular thing to talk about at the moment, but it's something that's really have deep roots within us. We are working only with natural material, right? So that's a story that we need to tell even more than we do now as well, and work even harder on. Yeah.
You guys have done a great job with that. From a sustainability standpoint, telling the story of the craftsmanship.
Yeah, so that's probably those two.
Two big ones. Even more of that will be beautiful. Yeah. So you guys, from an agency partner with the team, how are you going to transition? I mean, obviously you'll continue to support and help the brand grow, but obviously within the commerce implementation, you'll be there to support that. At what point do you kind of turn it over and they become more self-serve? What's the plan looking on that front?
I think it really depends on the client. So for now, we don't have a definite date internally, because you don't have the team internally to manage it all. Some clients do. It's always, we definitely want to discuss upfront. The plan for us is really, and I think we get excited into building new things. But in that transition at some point, because we said it at the beginning, we start as one team, right? Client and agency is super important. There's stress, we work as one team. So what we will want to do is, as early as possible, to bring the different team members that you will have that will take over into our team, and you have transition periods depending on the client and the complexity, which could be from 2 months, 3 months, sometimes 6 months. But we really work as a blended team, and progressively the ratio of client people versus agency people go over. That I do believe in. Like hard stops, I don't believe in.
Yeah,
I
scary.
don't believe you hand off an e-commerce platform with specification. I mean, that's not human.
Good luck.
So it's very, you need that transition period.
Good. No, that's helpful. So,
Yeah, a good point. Yeah.
all right. Well, we're 5 minutes. We got a couple more questions. Anybody?
I can continue the talk a little bit about like the handoff and like what
please.
our
No,
perspective from
jump
just
in.
to-
Yeah.
Yeah, just because I think for us it will be very hard to just release AKQA or being released from them, right? So we have a strong relationship and we're building roadmaps on what we'd like to do, and then on the go we'll figure out like how to sort things out and back in or however you want to do it.
The collective team, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes your priorities change as well based on what happens in the world and so on and so on. So also depends on your internal resources. You mentioned it as well, Nico. Like we don't have any developers in house, right? So pretty hard for us to move along with the system without any development. So yeah, really different.
And you're going to double your revenue, so that
Oh
much.
yeah, that's
much we
another
know.
thing.
So
yeah,
you're going to have more.
So we'll get our own developers.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
And I think there's something to close this what we discussed about. Okay, how to bring a brand platform to life, what it needs, and the storytelling, the blending of commerce and the story. But I think story, the next breakthrough we need to find at the group today is around content. I think the scale of content is very complicated. I think we all agree we want more content for luxury, but for all brands, everybody want more content. But it's hard and it's expensive.
Yeah, very expensive.
And the way we produce content today is very similar to 10 years ago, even though technology has drastically changed. But I do believe that for a lot of clients, 3D is still very much underutilized. I think when you see what AI is opening up, mixed to 3D and video, I think it's super interesting. And I'm super excited to move into this new era where, okay, we kind of fix the platform, we fix the e-commerce, and now I think they're going to be a great breakthrough of content, and it's going to create amazing experiences for brands like Fredericia, All Luxury, and all those brands.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes that kind of feature-rich content more accessible. I think that's where generative AI and general machine learning is going to help. I mean, just from a content perspective, I know in our old company ourselves, I mean, we'll spin up stuff, and it can certainly help give you a starting point. You know, and coming back to personalization.
Yeah,
I mean, a unique piece of content for a segment of users or an individual user, man, that becomes daunting. So
the hard thing for us is that it just needs to look so good for us to kind of like put our stamp on it, right? And like AR, when you want to like visualize your chair or whatever in AR, like I there's a little way still like on that technology before, for our standards at least, like before it looks like spot on, because that's the only thing we accept, right? That's top quality. And as soon as we get
I like
there,
the build. There's the build of the J39 chair on the site right now. That's pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah,
that's nifty. So,
good chair as well.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't checked out the site, definitely go check it out. It's absolutely beautiful. The team's done an incredible job, and just think of all sorts of ability to buy stuff off that thing. And the not too.
Too bad you can't buy anything yet. Actually,
I know.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. So, anything else from the group? On that note, we're gonna break and say thank you very much. We appreciate it, everybody. Great question.
Thank you.